Listen to me carefully, because what I'm about to tell you might be the most dangerous truth you've ever heard. There is a sentence you can say when someone uses your past against you. A sentence so powerful, so calm, so brutal in its confidence, that it will instantly destroy their control over you. No shouting, no arguing, no explaining, just one line, and suddenly they realize they can't manipulate you anymore. And that's exactly why most people will never say it. Because most people are still trapped, not trapped by their past, but trapped by the shame of it. Trapped by the fear of being judged, trapped by the need to be understood by people who don't even respect them. And if you've ever had someone throw your mistakes in your face, if you've ever had someone remind you of what you did years ago just to make you feel small today, then you already know how it feels. It feels like your past becomes a chain around your neck, like no matter how much you grow, they refuse to see the new you. They only want to keep you stuck in the old version. But here's the truth they don't want you to realize. The moment you respond the right way, your past stops being your weakness and becomes your weapon. And once you understand what I'm about to share, you will never feel embarrassed again. You will never defend yourself again. You will never beg for validation again. So stay with me until the end, because the final line of this video will change the way you handle disrespect forever. Most people think when someone brings up their past, it's because that person is trying to expose the truth. But that's not what's happening, not usually. What's happening is far more psychological than it is factual, because the moment someone reaches into your past to attack you, it's rarely about what you did. It's about what they're losing, and what they're losing is control. Think about it. If someone truly wanted to help you grow, they wouldn't throw your mistakes in your face like a weapon. They would speak to you like a human being. They would ask questions. They would try to understand. They would look at the person you are now and say, "How did you get here?" But when someone uses your past against you, they're not trying to understand you. They're trying to shrink you. Because control doesn't always look like domination. Sometimes it looks like emotional leverage. It looks like reminding you of the worst thing you've ever done, so you never feel confident enough to stand tall again. It looks like taking your weakest chapter and turning it into your permanent identity. And the reason they do that is because they're afraid of the version of you that is starting to rise. There is something deeply uncomfortable for certain people when you stop being ashamed of yourself, because shame is one of the easiest ways to manipulate someone. If I can make you feel guilty, I can make you apologize even when you did nothing wrong. If I can make you feel embarrassed, I can make you stay quiet when you should speak. If I can make you feel unworthy, I can keep you grateful for scraps. And if I can keep you grateful for scraps, I can keep you under control. That's why the past becomes their favorite tool. And the more you improve, the more they bring it up. This is something people don't realize. The attacks don't increase when you fail. They increase when you grow. Because growth threatens the social order of your relationships. It threatens the old dynamics. It threatens the way people used to treat you. It threatens the way they used to feel superior. And some people would rather keep you broken than watch you become powerful. So they reach for the only version of you that they can defeat. The old you, the version that didn't know better, the version that tolerated disrespect, the version that didn't have boundaries, the version that was insecure and emotional and easy to provoke, because they know if they can pull you back into that identity, they can win again. They can get you reacting again. They can get you defending yourself again. They can get you explaining yourself again. And once you start explaining, you're no longer leading the conversation. You're following it. You're no longer in control. You're trying to prove something to someone who already decided not to respect you. That is the trap. And the trap is not about your past. The trap is about your emotional reaction to your past. Because they want you to feel that familiar sting. They want you to feel that old shame. They want you to feel that internal panic that says, what if they're right? What if I really am still that person? They want you to doubt yourself. They want you to question your growth. They want you to shrink your confidence down to the size they can handle. That's why they bring it up in moments when you're doing well. Notice the timing. They don't bring up your past when you're already suffering. They bring it up when you're happy, when you're confident, when you're building something, when you're finally walking with your head high, when you're finally not asking for permission to exist, that's when they start reminding you of old mistakes. That's when they start bringing up stories. That's when they start saying things like, don't act like you're perfect, or I know the real you. What they're really saying is, I'm uncomfortable with the new you. And here's what you have to understand. People who are at peace with themselves do not feel the need to weaponize someone else's history. They don't need to. They don't gain anything from it. They're not threatened by your growth. They're not competing with you. They're not trying to keep you small. But insecure people are different. Insecure people don't want you to grow beyond them. They don't want you to become emotionally stable, because then you won't need their approval. They don't want you to become confident, because then you won't tolerate their disrespect. They don't want you to become disciplined, because then you won't join them in their excuses. They don't want you to heal, because healed people are harder to manipulate. So what do? They use your past as a leash. They use it to pull you back into the identity they're comfortable with. They use it to remind you of your lowest moments, because they need you to believe you're still capable of being that weak again. They need you to believe you're still beneath them. They need you to believe you're still unworthy of respect. And it's subtle too. It doesn't always come as an insult. Sometimes it comes as sarcasm. Sometimes it comes as a joke. Sometimes it comes as I'm just being honest. Sometimes it comes as I'm only saying this because I care. But pay attention to one thing. If it's said to help you, it will be said with compassion. If it's said to control you, it will be said with humiliation. And the moment you feel humiliated, you need to understand what's really happening. You are being emotionally cornered, because if you feel ashamed, you become predictable. You become easy to manipulate. You become easy to silence. You become easy to push around. Shame makes you second guess your instincts. Shame makes you question your right to set boundaries. Shame makes you accept treatment you should never accept. And that is why they love using the past. Because the past is permanent, but your emotions are flexible. They can't change what happened, but they can change how you feel about it. And if they can change how you feel about it, they can change how you behave. And if they can change how you behave, they can regain control. This is why some people keep bringing up things you already apologized for, things you already corrected, things you already paid for, things you already grew from, because they're not interested in closure. They're interested in leverage. And leverage is a dangerous thing to give someone. That's why you have to stop responding like you're on trial, because you're not. You are not in court. You are not standing before a judge. You are not required to defend yourself every time someone brings up your history. The only reason you feel like you need to defend yourself is because you still believe your past is something you must hide. But once you accept your past, it becomes useless to your enemies. It becomes powerless. And that's the turning point. Because when someone says, I remember what you did, and you don't flinch, you don't panic, you don't get emotional, you don't start begging them to understand, something happens. The dynamic changes. The power shifts. They realize they can't control you with shame anymore. And that's when they either respect you or they reveal their true intentions. So if someone keeps using your past against you, don't immediately assume you're being attacked because you're guilty. Sometimes you're being attacked because you're growing. Sometimes you're being attacked because you're becoming unrecognizable. Sometimes you're being attacked because they can feel you slipping out of their hands. And the truth is, they're not afraid of your past. They're afraid of your future. Because your future is the part they can't control. Your future is the part where you finally move on. Your future is the part where you stop explaining yourself. Your future is the part where you stop seeking validation. Your future is the part where you stop tolerating disrespect. And once you step into that future, their influence dies. So remember this. If someone is obsessed with your past, it's usually because they have no power over who you are becoming. And that should tell you everything, because the past is where people go, and they can't compete with your present. And they can't stand the idea that your future might be greater than their control. So the next time they bring it up, don't get dragged into the old story. Look at them calmly and remember this simple truth. If they need your past to win an argument, it means they already lost the moment you started evolving. Here's what most people get wrong about their past. They treat it like a scar they need to hide. They treat it like evidence against them, like a permanent stain on their character. And because of that, they walk through life with this quiet fear in the back of their mind that says, what if someone finds out who I used to be? But that fear is not weakness, it's misunderstanding. Because your past is not a weapon unless you hand someone the handle. And the reason people can hurt you with your past is not because your past is too ugly. It's because you still believe it disqualifies you. That belief is the real prison. See, psychologically, shame is one of the most powerful emotional forces in the human mind. Shame doesn't just say, I did something bad. Shame says, I am bad. And that difference is everything. Guilt can be corrected. Shame becomes identity. Guilt pushes you toward change. Shame convinces you that change is pointless. That's why so many people stay stuck, not because they don't have potential, but because they keep viewing their past like a verdict instead of a chapter. They keep reliving old mistakes like those mistakes are still happening. They keep punishing themselves long after life has moved on. They keep acting like their worst day is their permanent label. But mature people don't live key that. Mature people understand something that insecure people never will. Your past is not something you deny. It's something you integrate. It becomes part of your story, part of your character, part of your wisdom. It becomes the very thing that gives your words weight. Because a person who has never struggled can talk, but their words are light. A person who has been through it, survived it, learned from it, and came back stronger, speaks with authority. That's why your past is not your weakness. It's your credibility. And when you understand that, everything changes, because then you stop speaking about your past like you're confessing. You start speaking about your past like you're explaining, like you're teaching, like you're showing proof of your transformation. You stop looking down when you mention it. You look straight ahead. And people feel that shift. They feel when someone has accepted their journey. They feel when someone has stopped running from their own story. Because the truth is, everybody has a past. The only difference is not everybody has the courage to face it. Not everybody has the courage to admit they were wrong. Not everybody has the humility to change. Not everybody has the discipline to rebuild their life after they messed it up. So when someone tries to use your past against you, the first thing you must realize is this: the fact that you have a past doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. It makes you real. It makes you